So, Mark, did you hear about those parents who put a unique strategy in place as they went to go play craps at the casino? Take your kid, you distract the security guard so that they're looking the other way, then you leave your kid at the security booth, then you go hit the tables.
And of course it happens on Fremont Street after we said, like, keep your kids off Fremont Street at night. That's where it goes down. I mean, one of the comments, this is kind of a tragic story, you know, because if you're that into gambling, that's a big problem. But they're like, well, if he's age 7, you gotta leave him behind because you don't want to go to craps with the 7.
Yeah, you can't bring your bad luck kid there. That's terrible, Mark. That's terrible. Mark, Siegfried and Roy's famous house over on Rancho is now for sale, and it's listed online, so you can get to see pictures of it. Built in 1954, it sits on 0.42 acres, 8,750 square feet, selling for $3 million. And, you know, on Zillow, you have all the pictures. It looks incredible. You know, some of these houses, we've seen some of celebrity from yesteryear, their houses come up. Jerry Lewis's house came up a few years ago. They always look very like dated and weird, and this one does too, right? Because there's a lot of very.
I was just gonna say,
things. But no, but
dated.
But I feel like what they did is it's very themed and, you know, cohesive. I don't know. I really liked it. I wasn't surprised. I was expecting to see something that was not quite as nice as it was. Although I suspect it's going to be an acquired taste. As of the time we're recording this, it just went into contract, so somebody's buying it.
Yeah, I wonder, like, that'd be kind of a cool Airbnb, and I'm sure they could name their price, you know, to go to Siegfried and Roy's house and hang out there, and ton of rooms, ton of space, pools, all that stuff. What I found was really interesting is, you know, it's this big property, but it looks like it's just in the middle of a normal subdivision with, like, regular houses all around it, which I found kind of unique and weird. You think they would have, like, you know, a big gate around it or a property where they're kind of away from people, and I'm guessing they built this a long time ago, you know, and then maybe it grew up around there, but yeah, I was kind of shocked by that.
That area off of Rancho and Alta, all those houses in there, that used to be where, like, the aristocrats of Las Vegas, the really rich people, lived back in the day, and so that was where all the people like Siegfried and Roy would have been, and that's where they lived, is closer to the Strip, and that was sort of their main house. But they did have a house up in the Northwest where they kept all their animals, and it was on a much bigger piece of land. It was right across from Santa Fe Station, actually, Rainbow and Rancho. And, yeah, that one was another cool one because, I mean, it just had so much land around it. And unfortunately, after their deaths, that got sold to a developer. And I don't know if it's been torn down yet or not because I haven't been there in the last 6 months or so. But it got approved to get torn down, and they're going to build a 330-unit like apartment complex or condo complex in its place. So unfortunately, that piece of Siegfried and Roy history is now gone, but this is their main home. This looks kind of cool. That's the S&R on the front door, the gate, all that good stuff.
Yeah, the other one looked more what I was thinking, like a lot of land, space, you know, no neighbors, really, kind of what you envision with celebrities and what they want. And I mean, it's sad to see it torn down, but, you know, we've talked numerous times about the issue with housing and how there isn't enough in the Vegas area, and it continues to grow. So they definitely need more, especially affordable apartments and stuff. I don't know that these are going to be very affordable, but they definitely need to build more of those out. You know, stop building casinos and start building some houses and apartments, please.
Yeah, when they built that, there wasn't much around there, and that was sort of the end of the valley. Ann Road was the end of the valley. There wasn't much north of that, and the city has extended probably 10 miles north, basically all the way to Mount Charleston or to almost to the Lee Canyon exit. It's just gotten more and more north, and so, yeah, I mean, this is almost like more of a central location now where that new one is. And yeah, I mean, you can't argue replacing one giant house with a 330-unit complex, giving more housing in an area where we have a shortage. So good to see that. But I was so happy to see all these pictures. The realtor did a great job of just making sure this is documented. And I'm glad to see that before it changes hands. Maybe we'll get a Siegfried and Roy museum in it. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, you always see listings. I mean, I know this is a $3 million listing, so they're probably bringing in professionals. But it's amazing how bad pictures are on real estate listings. Like, you know, all cockeyed or dark, and you can't see or tell what's going on. So it's nice to see clear photos that had good lighting and all that. And you get, you know, hope, and those, it's on the internet, so they'll be there for forever and ever, even if people change it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's an amazing 3D tour too. So if you want to check it out, the link is down in the description. So we got a little bit of an update on the Plaza construction. a good look at what the Carousel Bar is going to look like now. Vital Vegas tweeted out a video of it. I think Vegas Advantage tweeted out a photo of it as well. We see the tile going in for the floor, which I'm not the biggest fan of, I'll say, but
where's the carpet?
I was shocked by like all the, the plumbing and all the electrical and everything that they put in there. This area was just basically a driveway, right? So they're having to put everything out there. But I think this is an incredible venue. I just think it's such a cool place to sit at a bar right at the end of Fremont Street. I always thought Plaza's position on Fremont Street was very special, and I think this kind of leans into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Circa has a lot to do with this, because they brought another level to Fremont Street, and this is just kind of playing into that. Plaza's always kind of been like a good place to go if you want to do something cheap or, have a cheap room and the location's good, but there wasn't like a ton drawing me in, and they've been adding, restaurants and bars, and this looks really, really cool, unique, something that will draw people in. So I think it's a great move on their part. It looks really cool. I definitely would check it out. And I think it's just kind of like Circa's bringing more people down there, and they want them to stay down there more. So I think, hopefully we see this happen at other properties too.
Yeah, and it's smart because they're only steps away from Circa, right? Especially this bar. It's just steps away from Circa across the street. And they're also, as a reminder, building a Pink Box Donuts, a new patio for Oscars, and then that non-smoking casino, which is kind of themed to Brian Christopher Slots or has a tie-in for social media influencers, the first non-smoking casino in downtown Las Vegas. So, yeah, a lot's still going on. They're moving along. That bar seems like it'll be done pretty quickly.
Since they got the slots, we should have an MTM Vegas carpet room or something where you just like rub the furry wall and stuff. Come on, put it together. Let's do it.
I mean, we need the people at the Plaza, Jonathan Jostley. I don't think that they watch us, but yeah, hopefully they do. He did say that I guess it's a really a maze to get into the property now because of the way everything's blocked off. He said that's going to be done by the end of this week, so hopefully a little bit more accessible to get to the rest of Plaza. But good to see that moving along. Now, we talked on the last show, Mark, about Bally's new huge sign on the Strip and then their new Asian restaurant, MY Asia. And apparently we're the only two people who don't know who Martin Yan is. Yeah, so we got a lot of hate in the comments for not knowing who that guy was. And I did say you had the most cooking shows, like he was on PBS for like decades. So yeah, we failed on that, and we're sorry.
He's the Bob. What's the guy with the big hair? Bob Ross.
Yeah.
He's the Bob Ross of cooking shows, and we messed it up.
Yeah, we totally did. So we apologize to all of you. But speaking of LED signs, Fontainebleau, they started testing their sign this week. And, we talked last show about all the screens and how they're taking over, so we won't talk about that. But it's good to see finally something come alive on this building. We've seen the signage go up. More and more of the facade is going up. So we're finally seeing, instead of that shell, we're finally seeing what it might look like as it gets done. And I really like how they built the marquee into the top of the building. Kind of looks neat.
Yeah, I like that. It's less obtrusive and, kind of blends in a bit more. We've limited how many signs there are and how lights and Times Square and stuff. So I feel like this fits in a bit better, versus what we're seeing with Bally's and how it's just going to be kind of an eyesore and a money grab. So I kind of like that. I agree. Hopefully when it's all said and done, it looks great and doesn't take over the skyline too much.
I wonder what percentage of people out there are still being naysayers about this project getting finished. Like every occasionally I'll come and see somebody comment, oh, that's never going to get done. And it's like, yeah, this is going to get done. It's going to open this year. I mean, nothing's a sure thing, right, Mark? But I mean, it's probably as close to that as possible. And everything I've seen from the renderings, just to the facade, how they're doing it, the materials, the colors, the designs. I really like this place. I think this is going to be right up my alley, and it's going to win competition for my favorite hotel. I'm going to put that out there now. Of course, it could be terrible, but I think these people know how to do hotels, obviously the Fontainebleau in Miami, and everything they do I'm excited about. So start to build up the hype so we can get a property that's fun.
It's talking about building up. I thought you were building up a segue there, saying things that might not get done.
Yeah, so for things that might not get built, let's move further south on the Strip and Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard. We've talked about Tilmann Fertitta's casino that he has said he's going to build there. We talked about the fact that he's made tons of money since he bought Wynn stock, and Mark, the Wynn stock's even higher than when we talked about that. But apparently not enough money because one of his senior executives said things are really expensive right now, and they haven't made a decision when they're going to move forward. Although we have seen updates from the South Strip this week as the Hawaiian Marketplace got torn down and the other shops next to it as well. I think that Mexican restaurant on the corner of Harmon, Las Vegas Boulevard is still operating.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear this because everything's just more expensive now. And it's really kind of the worst time to build. If you assume that inflation is going to come down at some point in the next couple of years, costs of things and everything is, or the economy is going to downturn, you definitely don't want to start a huge expensive project. But it's also kind of annoying because they've already locked up shop, started knocking down stuff, and I don't want this to be like a huge eyesore of a couple buildings here, vacant there, and it just looked really bad, even though what was there didn't look great before. But you'd hate to see that, and just another type of thing that's like a stalled start in Vegas. We've had enough of that. So hopefully they just pop. I mean, use that win money. You got it. Just come and build it, please.
Yeah, you just use the win money. Yeah, I mean, I've been sort of surprised how many projects we've seen announced, given the inflationary, environment we're in and how expensive everything is. So this doesn't surprise me. It's actually surprised me that so many other projects have gone forward. He did get approval for this. He went to the city council. They're tearing down the buildings. I think they're moving forward. They're just trying to figure out the right time. Of course, the economy could crash and that could all change. But yeah, we might just have a dirt lot on the strip for a while.
Could bring in Tonka trucks or the big trucks and like do a digging thing like they do in Vegas, where you rent big vehicles and dig pits.
Yeah, we have one of those, or we did. I don't know if it's still open. It's where Area 15, or it was where Area 15's expansion is going, but I don't know if they moved
So they bring it over to the strip. There you go.
All right, Mark. Now let's talk about the quote-unquote Bellagio of Reno, the Sands Regency. So I have stayed at this hotel. I've actually been there a couple times, but I've stayed there, and this is like a couple blocks off the main Virginia Street kind of strip of Reno. And first time I stayed there, I want to say was like 2009. And when you would walk from Virginia Street the few blocks to get there, because again, I stayed there, it was like full of homeless people. It was a very dangerous place. Let's just put it that way. I was just back in Reno last year, totally redeveloped that area. They built a lot of like new housing and mixed use stuff. And a lot of this is because of this one developer who also bought the Sands Regency. And now he said, now this property is like a lower tier property. It was sort of added on to over the years, very low ceilings, very smoky, very old style casino, and he's gonna spend $400 million to renovate it. The thing I know that you like about this story is he said he's gonna knock out the ceilings and they're gonna be 40-foot tall casino ceilings. So I think I don't know why Bellagio of Reno. Why build that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the price tag, I was like, Circus only putting in like 40 million. You're gonna put 400 million in Reno? I don't know. I just don't see how it makes sense. We just talked, the last story is about not making sense to build on the Vegas Strip. I can't see spending $400 million in Reno. I mean, I hope it happens. I've always wanted to go to Reno, never been. And everybody's like, it's not really worth the trip unless you got to be there anyway. So maybe he's trying to make it worth the trip, but I don't see this playing out well. But I hope it does.
Yeah, the Reno area has changed so much when it comes to casinos. Virginia Street used to have a ton of casinos, and over the years, a lot of them closed. And now you're basically down to just a few. The Sands Regency behind that, and then you do have some nicer casinos kind of spread out, like the Grand Sierra, like the Peppermill. So there are some nicer casinos. What was interesting about this was that they're going to spend $150,000 per room to renovate it.
150,000. Like when I first read this, I was thinking 15,000. That made sense, but 150,000 per room seems bananas to me.
He's building this neon line district that basically extends out. He's building housing, all of this stuff, and so this is going to be the anchor of that. So it does sort of make sense, I guess. But this property is a weird one, and it'll be interesting to see how they transform it. I'll look forward to it. Hopefully I have some video. I'm not sure how much video I have of it from my stays. I was just there last year, so I know I have a little bit of video of it. So hopefully I can throw that up here so people can see what it looks like.
Oh, you just said throw it up on screen again. Like you did with nachos.
I'll work on it. So our last story, Cosmo, apparently the signage is now getting changed. We know that Cosmo had some different stuff when MGM bought them, right? They had their own casino loyalty program called Identity, and then they also had a partnership with Marriott on the hotel side, and MGM has a partnership with Hyatt on the hotel side, and of course MGM Rewards. And so it's a little confusing, but Cosmo is going to remain with Marriott on the hotel side, but on the casino loyalty side, they're going to merge into MGM Rewards. We knew that's going to happen, but apparently signage is getting changed out. We were always sort of told the rumor was April, so that's probably what we're looking at. If you have comps or any offers on your Identity account, book them now, because when that goes away, then you'll be subject to MGM Rewards and whatever you have there. On the flip side, if you're an MGM loyalist, you soon should be able to book Cosmo.
Yeah, I guess it depends where you're at. Like if you've been an MGM loyalist, this is great news. If you've been a Cosmo loyalist, this is the day you've been dreading. So, like you said, get it in while you can. Book what you can, even if you don't know if you're going to be able to make it. Book like 5 trips if you have comps and use them up and get it locked in. On
a side note, I was looking at the site last night. I'm in Mexico right now, and so I go to the site and looking at Jasmine's offer. She doesn't have any comps or anything, but she has like a $79 a night no resort fee offer, which is pretty good for Cosmo. So I started looking and clicking through, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing numbers like $13,000 a night and all this stuff. And of course, the site was converting it to pesos. And I didn't realize it. It took me a good 5 minutes. What the hell is going on in Vegas where the Cosmo is $13,000?
Is there another F1 race I forgot about that day?
Yeah, seriously, it was insane. Speaking of F1, on the next show, we're going to talk about the new renderings for the F1 race that they released. Looks really cool with the sphere. So we'll talk about that on the next show. And let us know in the comments what you think about anything we talked about here. Siegfried and Roy's house, the Cosmo changeover, the Bellagio of Reno. Have you been to that area? Have you been to the Sands Regency? Let us know. If you like the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you receive notifications of all of our videos. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we will be back in just a few days with another one. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good weekend. I'll be stuffing my face full of New Haven pizza.
I didn't screw it up this time.